Yeah, so when you're in a neutral state of mind, are you looking at what?
The conscious self.
Are you looking at the conscious self?
From the conscious
Francis, yeah. Yes, I would say that, because the way the masters explain it is that the conscious you is neutral. They've also used the words pure awareness. And it's the separate selves we have that have some kind of bias or some kind of overlay. They want things to be a certain way. So, you know, it's to take the example I just gave, that I can't allow myself to do something stupid. Well, obviously, it's a separate self that projects at me that I can't allow myself to do something stupid. There's also another separate self that's projecting that there's this standard for what's stupid and what's not stupid. And this doesn't come from the conscious you, because the conscious you just looks at things. They're just events that happen. And as I was saying, I can look at somebody else that does something, and I don't have any judgment about it. You know, the person just did or said this, so what? But if I did the same thing myself, I would condemn myself for it. And that's obviously a separate self. Yeah?
Why could not you do anything stupid? Were you too intelligent or more advanced?
Yeah, so the question is why I felt I couldn't do something stupid. And I think there are layers of this, but I think the core of it, as I've seen it so far, is that when I came to Earth as an avatar, I came from a natural planet. So I had not done the kind of things that you see people doing on Earth, hurting other people, deliberately, ridiculing other people, putting them down. I can remember as a child, I had a very strong reaction when some children would put another child down and make them feel bad, because I felt you really shouldn't do that. You know, you shouldn't put other people down psychologically. It was almost worse for me than if you hurt them physically. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I came as an avatar, and it's not that I felt I was better than human beings on Earth, but I felt that there were certain things that human beings do that I had not done, and I couldn't allow myself to do it. So one of those things is do something stupid, and I think what it really means is that as an avatar, I should know better than people on Earth. So I shouldn't make the kind of stupid mistakes that people make. That's how I can see it right now. There could be deeper layers of this. So I think what I sense in myself, at least, is that as an avatar, we have this sense that, we are here to improve things on Earth. So we can't allow ourselves to be pulled down into doing some of these things that are making things worse, And if we do, we are very judgmental towards ourselves for having done this. We wouldn't judge other people the same way, but we judge ourselves very harshly because we feel we should have been able to do better. And I think it's probably individual for each one what the particular thing is. You might feel something different that you can't do. But for me, it was this, being stupid. And I also think that I have sensed, but I don't see it clearly, but I have sensed that at some point in distant past, I was in a position similar to what's described in the My Lives book, where the main person there is born into this civilization, and the fallen beings try to make him feel that it was his fault that the civilization collapsed. And I think I was in a similar position where I was fooled into doing something that had disastrous consequences. And I felt, how could I have been so stupid? And I think probably many other people have, because this is one of the ways the fallen beings really get us. They put us in a position where we think we have an opportunity to do the right thing. And then it turns out that the situation, it was all manipulated, and there was really no right thing, no good thing we could have done there. Because the main purpose of the fallen beings was to put us down and destroy us. And they created this entire situation just for that purpose. And so I don't think I've fully worked through that yet, but it's certainly something I'm very aware of right now. Okay? So the question is, when we work on a separate self and we think we have let it go, can a memory of it come back later? And I would say, yes, I've experienced that as well. And I think there's kind of like two aspects of it. The separate self is based on a decision. And that decision is based on an illusion. So when we resolve the self, it's because we look at the self from the outside, we see the decision we made, we see the illusion it's based on, and then we say, I'm letting this go. I'm letting the self die. I don't want to defend it. I don't want to justify it. I don't want to explain it. It's kind of like often with a separate self, it's like we start to see it, but we start with the mind kind of justifying. In terms of this, you have a separate self that thinks you did something stupid. You can have a part of the mind, an outer self, that starts to say, maybe it wasn't so bad after all. And maybe the consequences weren't so bad, and maybe you shouldn't be so hard on yourself, you should just ignore it. But to resolve a separate self, we have to come to the point where we are not trying to justify it, and we're not trying to solve any problem that the self projects. We just look at it and say, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to respond this way. I don't want to feel this way, think this way. And I'm not trying to solve a problem, and I'm not trying to explain or justify. I'm just letting it die. I'm stop feeding it my energy. So when we come to that point, then the separate self is dead. But there could be some energies that we haven't fully resolved. And there is also a memory that we may not have erased. But I also think that there can be a projection from the outside. I remember even before I knew anything about separate selves, going way back in the 1990s, where I experienced seeing something in my psychology and letting it go, but then there would be a projection coming back. So I basically had to let it go again. And this could happen several times. It's almost like the fallen beings sense that if there's the least chance that they can pull you back into the pattern, they will project this at you. And so you have to a certain number of times let go of it again until they give up. But I also think it's valuable to take the teaching from Master Moore on erasing memories and realize we can have resolved the self, but there's still the memory of it that we also need to let go of. Because, of course, when we resolve the self, we don't need to hold on to it anymore. Why would we need to remember it? In terms of this, with feeling I have done something stupid, I can also see that there's a very strong projection from the fallen beings that, from a natural planet, right? What we experienced on a natural planet is that whatever we did, we could always transcend it. We could always be free of it. We never really made a mistake that could never be repaired. But here on Earth, the fallen beings have projected that there are things that are mistakes that are so bad we can never be free of them. So I can see that there's a very strong projection against me that I have done something so stupid that I could never overcome it. And that's why I shouldn't dare to speak out again. I shouldn't dare to challenge the fallen beings because I've already proven that I can't do it. I'm not good enough to do it. I'm too stupid to challenge the fallen beings or whatever. So this is a very, very strong projection. And perhaps there's still a self that I haven't resolved there. But irregardless, I think it's something they project at all of us to try to basically prevent us from expressing our Christhood. Because that's what they really don't want. They can handle that we attain Christhood if we are sitting in a cave in the Himalayas. But really, that's not Christhood if it isn't expressed in helping other people. So